Hello everyone, welcome to the props and state React tutorial. We have already set up a few of the configuration files for you, so if you've already cloned the repo and have npm installed it, the JSON package will have already the dev dependencies that you require to run a React with a server, and the webpack config will already be set up to be working with your entry point as app.js. And app.js will work in a way that the index HTML has a div ID of tutorial, and this div ID of tutorial will render a component called tutorial. So we're going to first create a tutorial component. Like so, extending React component. We're going to start by rendering first. The render method returns div. And inside our div, we're going to make a child component and a button. So in this case, we are going to make tutorial component a stateful component. So all the logic will reside in here. And the child component will have some props, which if you have been reading our README, you will know that these props will change only if the parent says so, whereas the state can be changed inside its own component. So the tutorial will have a state that can change, and the child component will have some props that will not change unless the tutorial parent will say so. So we'll create the child component. And we'll also create a button component, which will be the trigger to change the state of the tutorial component. So now we will go to the button component, create it in the same exact way we've been doing for the tutorial component. And give it a render method to begin with. This will return an HTML button, which will for now just display the click me text. And later we will define what goes on when this button is clicked. It will run a function. Then let's not forget to export default button. And we'll import it in our app.js. Okay, now we can go to our child component and create it. And give it a render method again, returning, in this case, div, which will have some text inside. We'll come later to what that text is going to be, but it's going to depend on its property. And let's not forget, once again, to export default child component and import it in our app.js so that our child component will not be undefined when we run the dev webpack. Okay, so what we should be doing now is, since we've created a parent component, we should create a constructor which will contain the state, and this state is passed along within the other props to the rest of the child components. So we will call the super method and give it a this.state, which is an object. And what will be governing the state will be the click of a button, which will be either true or false in terms of the clicked property. Then we're going to create a toggle function, and we're going to bind it to this so that we can then later on call it from the button component. What this toggle function is going to do is it will set the state via the method this.setState, and it will change the state object by just passing the opposite of the current clicked value. So it will be not this.state.clicked. And we already bound it, so then what we can do is to pass on the button an onClick property, which is this.toggle. This will be the function that will be running when the button is clicked. So in our button component, we now have only the text, but now we can add the property onClick with this.props.onClick. Now our button component should be working, and what should happen in this case is that once we toggle the state, our child property should change. So we should create a change child text function, and we're going to bind it again to this as before. Change child text is equal to this dot change child text dot bind to this. And the change child text function will return a string, which will be a function of whether the clicked state will be true or false. So we'll use a ternary operation, this.state.clicked, and if it's true, it will return a string of I'm a good child, and if it's false, it will return a string of I'm a naughty child. Okay, now that we have the function, we can call it with this.changeChildText since we've bound it. We have to add the property to the changeChild component. So right now, the changeChild component doesn't even know what should be in it because we've left these curly braces blank. But if we fill them in with this.props.childText, it should expect the property of child text, and we're going to define it in this component here. Child text is equal to this.change child text, and by running the change child text, we will return a string. So the child text property is going to be associated with the string, and the div will display this string within the curly brackets. So let's check if we've exported both. We should be ready to run this. Now we npm run dev. Our server is online. We have set it up so that it will run at port 8080. And we should be expecting I'm a naughty child because the state of clicked is false right now, and the state should change when I click the click me button, and ta-da, I'm a good child is displaying right now. So hopefully now you will be a little clearer about how the state and properties work within React, and thank you for listening. Bye.